everyone, welcome back. My name is Catherine Hubert. I'm the owner here at Chez Genèse. We are a small French-inspired cafe in Greensboro, North Carolina, and we have an integrated hiring model for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, meaning that just over 50% of our staff are adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and it is our goal to change the way that our world both views and employs people with disabilities. And today we are talking about the disability unemployment rate. So I've got my little notes off to the side because my brain does not remember numbers very well and I don't have all of them totally committed to memory. But we're going to talk about where the unemployment rate currently is among disabled adults in the United States and also a little bit worldwide, why that's significant, and where there are still some pretty large barriers in terms of changing that unemployment rate for people with disabilities. So we're going to jump right in. The Department of Labor, if you go onto their website, and we'll include some of these links to the research and the findings that we've done down below so that you can look them up for yourself. But the unemployment rate between adults with disabilities in the United States between the ages of 16 and 64, that's considered to be the employment age range in this country. The unemployment rate is between 63 and 77%. So significant, meaning that 22 to 36% of adults with disabilities between the ages of 16 and 64 in this country are employed. The employment rate for non-disabled adults in the United States is triple what it is for adults with disabilities. So meaning that the unemployment rate for non-disabled adults is between 26 and 35% versus 63 to 77%. So that's a big gap. Why is that gap so large? There's a lot of different factors there. We're not going to dive into all of them in this video. However, we are going to talk about the perceived value or importance that businesses in this country have when it comes to including or hiring people with disabilities on their team. The Harvard Business Journal did a study which showed that 90% of businesses agreed that working towards diversity among their businesses was something that they viewed as being important and being of value, but only 4% out of that 90% agreed that people with disabilities fit into that theme of diversity and inclusion. So, prioritizing diversity in terms of race, in terms of gender, in terms of age, those are things that are typically considered by businesses to be part of that diversity initiative. Hiring people with disabilities, only 4% of the 90% of businesses that agreed diversity was important felt that people with disabilities should be included into that initiative. So that alone, that number, and the unemployment rate, I think if we don't talk about anything else today, those two things feed into each other. If businesses, companies, organizations, and the people making decisions and hiring within those businesses do not see hiring individuals with disabilities as important or as inclusive, then there's not going to be an emphasis, a priority, or even any kind of action or presence taken in that direction. This is something that we've encountered as a business on a smaller level in our work of education and advocacy, and as if we've been partnering with more businesses in our own community with teachings, trainings, internships. A lot of that has been done through our program that was a nonprofit and is now no longer a nonprofit, called Compass Greensboro. The Compass structure has changed since it was initially developed and is now been pulled into and integrated into the Chez Genèse business model. We'll get into all of those details as to why later. However, in the process of partnering with other businesses and providing internship sites for students that we're training here, training businesses on how to be more adaptive and inclusive in their workspaces towards adults with disabilities, we've found that there's general interest and desire to participate, to show up, to be involved. There is not a significant willingness to invest from a resource standpoint, especially a financial standpoint. So time is a resource, and people have given some of their time to learning more, to partnering with us, etc. But as we've asked people what value they would ascribe to it, what dollar amount they would ascribe to the training that they've received, we've still been met with kind of a lot of like, I don't know, or that people just aren't in a position to pay for this kind of training, which on one hand I completely understand as a small business owner myself, and profit margins are thin, especially in the hospitality and restaurant industries. But the other side of that is, I think culturally we don't yet see or ascribe value frequently enough, or in some cases at all, to disability employment. The CDC states that 26% of Americans have a disability, so that's a quarter of our population. Worldwide, that number is about 15%, which is still a significant number. And something that's unique about disability is just because you are not disabled currently does not mean that you won't become later in your life. There's the opportunity for us all as humans to experience disability, and yet there's still not a lot of human connection, understanding, or initiative that's put towards including and hiring people with disabilities. We are wanting to change that. We are wanting to change that to the point that the scales tip in the other direction, which means that my goal in our business starting is to start somewhere. The unemployment rate is so high among individuals with disabilities in our country and in our world that we need to have businesses run by non-disabled humans willing to employ disabled humans, but I don't want it to end there. I want to change the way hiring is done so that more people with disabilities have more employment opportunities, and that they get the opportunity in the near future to be the ones running the businesses and to be the ones making the decisions and to have leadership opportunities. It's hard to have a leadership opportunity if someone won't even give you an entry-level job. So we're trying to buck against that system and those dynamics, but just know that essentially I've created a business model that I'm hoping will expire at some point in the future. That my business model will no longer be necessary because our culture has changed so much. We're not there yet, so our business model is still necessary, and I want to teach and train it to other people so that we can see it grow and expand in the change among our community, in our city, in our world, change and expand. And then eventually, we won't need, we will need to exist hopefully in some capacity. We won't need to exist in the same capacity, which is the point of change, right? Like you change, you grow, you're different. Who you are now is different than who you were 7, 10, 15 years ago. And I want the same thing to be true for this business and the things that we do. But I don't want us to change in terms of who we are in our values and what we hope to emit into the world. So I'm going to close on that for today. Questions, comments, please drop them below. If you don't already subscribe to our channel, please do that. Please help us spread the word. We're so grateful for you being part of our online community, and just appreciate you showing up and being willing to have conversations around topics that are maybe new to you or maybe not, and you just want to learn more. All places of learning are super welcomed here, and we are just excited to learn and to grow with you.